Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're back here with the second year of my play and predictions. Right now, we got the 7th seed Philadelphia 76ers going against the 8th seed Miami Heat. The winner of this game will be going up against the New York Knicks, who are the 2nd seed. How I do this is, if you just want to skip to the end of the video, there will be a timestamp. I'll tell you who will be my winner and how many games, and then I'll also say how the team that I think might lose could still win this and give my prediction. But how this works is, I'm going to first talk about probably Philadelphia and for a couple, 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll talk about Miami for 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll do the end of the video. So timestamps are down below. Hit that like and subscribe button. And before we start, I want to hear who you think is going to win this. So we're going to start off with the 76ers, like I said, on the screen. Just a little kind of stat guide for you guys to look at, from betting odds to Sixer stats. They're the 13th best offense on the season, 11th best defensive rating, 8th in net rating, and there are a couple of their opponents in team ranks. I just want to acknowledge something. So per cleaningtheglass.com, they are one of the hottest teams in the league. Yes. I love Nick Nurse, by the way. Nick Nurse's autobiography, in my opinion, is one of the best NBA autobiographies one can read if you haven't read it. But let's get into it. Philadelphia has been a team that over the last 2 weeks, they've been absolutely on a tear, like I previously mentioned. How do I know that? So per Cleaning the Glass has them as the 2nd best team behind only Indiana in points differential, and on the season they're 10th. But over the last 2 weeks, where they went 8-0 coming into Sunday, they were the 2nd best with plus 11.4. On the season, they're the 10th best point differential. And if you don't know what a point differential, it's the points scored per 100 possessions minus points allowed per 100 possession, which means over the last 2 weeks, they've been outscoring opponents by almost 12 points in comparison to how many points they've gave up. While on the season, they're scoring 3 more points than the points they give up per 100 possessions, which is a good metric to show how they're doing offensively and defense on both sides of the ball. Now, when we look at this team, we're assuming that they're going to be going ahead with Joel Embiid. As of late, over the last 2 weeks, the guys that they've been running in the starting lineup, and the starting lineup that we're probably going to see in the playoffs, is going to look, in my opinion, Tyrese Maxey. Do you think they're going to go with Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid in there? Or do you think Buddy Hield's going to go into the starting lineup? I think it's definitely interesting because Nick Nurse is a guy who likes to play his best players a majority of the game. And I think that's going to be indicative in this series, where the offensive firepower for the 76ers over the last 2 weeks of their starters, Kelly Oubre, who's dropped last 8 games, 20 points a night, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to close out the last 5 games of the season, they've averaged like 30 points a night. And we even saw Campaign score, play 4 games to close out the season, and he put up 10.5 points, and it wasn't bad. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what those minutes are going to look like, as I think Tyrese, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Nick Batum, Kyle Lowry, Campaign, Paul Reed, Buddy Hield are their 9 dudes that they could play. And if I had to cut maybe one, Paul Reed's the backup center. He's going to be playing very limited minutes. So you're cutting kind of him. And I think Campaign's only going to come in if Kyle Lowry and Tyrese Maxey need breaks. So I really cut those two. So we're going to assume that Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Kyle Lowry will be the starting lineup, with maybe Buddy Hield as the 6th man, and then Nick Batum as the 7th guy in the rotation, unless they want to have Oubre off the bench. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because now when we look at the Miami Heat in contrast, how are they going to match up? So I think guard-wise, I like Tyrese Maxey better than Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier. I think defensively, if you look at this, the 76ers are a team that this year, they're top 15 defense. They're better defensively than they are offensively. And I think their biggest weakness comes out when Joel Embiid comes off the floor, they don't really have a rim protector. But I'm not afraid of Bam Adebayo and the guys beating the. I think if the Heat are going to beat the Sixers, they're going to beat them by out shooting them. The Sixers are a team that only shoots 33 threes a night and only hits about 12 of them a night, while the Heat are a team that are top 20. They shoot about the same amount of threes and make them at the same rate, but in terms of 33 threes a night, 12, but at a 37% clip, which is a bit better, not huge. But the Heat, the way they're going to beat them is by 3-point shooting, while I think the way that the Sixers, if they want to win this, they got to control attacking the inside, using their size. They're a team that scores, top 15 points in, the league, and they do a really good job of not allowing their opponents to score, not allowing their opponents to shoot too many threes, and holding their opponents to, the 9th fewest points per game. So I think for them, they aren't a rim protection team. They're a good team that does a good job of forcing guys to make mistakes and shoot inefficiently. As I think the best way for the Sixers is to use their size, which I think they clearly have an advantage over the Miami Heat, or a little bit smaller than them. As you look at it, Tyrese Maxey, Kyle Lowry are going to be the smallest guys in the rotation. There's also DeAnthony Milton, that we don't know 100% sure if he's going to play or not, as DeAnthony Milton is a guy that was ruled out with the back injury recovery. He might not play, so we're going to go with that he's not playing. And I think Kyle Lowry, also knowing the Heat could give them the edge, as I really think Tobias Harris is bigger than the rest of the wings on the Miami squad. Which, if you look at their players, no disrespect to them, but Jaime Jaquez, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, Tyler Hero, Kevin Love, Nikola Jovic, going up against the wings that are going to be Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Nick Batum, and then Buddy Hield sometimes, while also having to deal with Joel Embiid on the inside. It might stretch them a little thin. I think the whole thing right here, if they can control the tempo of the game and limit their mistakes, control the boards, and be the more physically dominant team, this could be an easy one for the Sixers. Now, let's go over to the Miami Heat. Miami Heat like their back up against the wall. So this is where you got to think, okay, the Heat, even if they lose this, you still got to think they'll still come out the play-in. I'm not worried, as the Heat over the last 2 weeks, as they closed out the season, let's just put up this little graphic that we had earlier. They are on the year, by the way. On the year, they're the 4th best defense in the league, 16th in net rating, 13th best 3-point shooting team. Their offensive rating is 21st. But when I look at this team over the last 2 weeks to close out the season, 6-3, their point differential plus 6.6 on the last 2 weeks. And then on the season, yes, they're plus 1.5, which was 18th. They're a team that we all know they don't try in the regular season, and that they just wait for their opportunity in the postseason. I mean, even look at Jimmy Butler, who started to heat up right when the time was right, and that's what they needed. So as the season's came to a close, Jimmy Butler closed the year out over the last 2 weeks, averaging just under 20 points. They had Terry Rozier also being a 20-point per game scorer. They have Tyler Hero being a 20-point per game scorer, and Bam's averaging 16. Between just those 4 dudes, you are getting about 75 points a night. Then you throw in Nikola Jovic, who's just been stroking it from deep. He's a guy who's taking about just under 6 3-pointers a night at 36%, hitting about 2 a night, averaging 12 points. And right there, that's 87 points a night. You got yourself Caleb Martin and Jaime Jaquez, who are each putting up 9. What do we got right there? Yeah, we're at 87. We throw in 18. That's 105 points. And we're only looking at 7 dudes in the rotation. And if you see the guys who've really been playing, there's also Haywood Highsmith and DeLon Wright and Duncan Robinson, who Duncan Robinson's been injured, and he's a guy for on the season. He's only, he's put up 13 points a night and shooting a true shooting of 61%. So there's still that. And they still have Patty Mills. They still have Kevin Love. I think that's really the crazy part about all of this, is that Haywood Highsmith, Patty Mills, Kevin Love, and Thomas Bryant and Haywood Highsmith and DeLon Wright are all guys still behind all the players that I just mentioned. And when you look at the Heat, they're a team that they're smaller than 76ers, and that's something that they're going to have to overcome. But none of the stats you see for the Heat matter. We can't look at that. You can't do that. You just know what the Heat are. They're a team that has a multi-headed dragon in either Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and even Duncan Robinson are all five. Throw in Jaime Jaquez in there for crying. I mean, and if Caleb Martin can continue doing what he did last playoff run, and then Haywood Highsmith, who people don't realize really ended the year pretty darn good. Haywood Highsmith, at one point was having like a double-digit scoring streak over like 6 or 5 games before like this, final stretch a week or two ago. So they have 5 to 6 guys that can give you, if one guy isn't doing good, I mean, they'll have at least 3 dudes every single night in 20-point contention. The other thing is they're just so good defensively. So good defensively. For me, the way that I see this is that if they're going to win, obviously rebound battle, I think they're going to be faster and, push the pace better. They're able to push the pace to a way that the 76ers might not be able to come. Joel Embiid's also hampered. So I think this is something, and plus I think the Heat want to face the Knicks over the Celtics, because if they lose this, they have to play the winner of the Atlanta-Chicago game, and then that person plays the Celtics, and I think they'd rather face the Celtics at the conference finals than in the first round. For me, when I see this, I think it's a big thing. The offense for Miami to close out the last 2 weeks, like I said, on the season, their offense was ranked 21st by cleaning the glass per points per 100 possession. They're ranked on the season 21st with 114 points, and their defense points per 100 possession, points allowed per 100 possessions, 116.9, which is 21st. So their difference right there, not the best, and as they were 18th with plus 1.5 in point differential. But as they closed out the season, like I told you, their point differential is currently over the last 2 weeks plus 6.6, which is their offense is the 9th best and 116 points per 100 possession, while their defense, 6th best, is only allowing 109.8. So huge uptick for them. And if we told you earlier, the 76ers are scoring 117 points and they're only allowing 105. Again, Sixers over this span have had the best defense in the league. But I don't know if that's going to carry over. And plus, their competition wasn't the hardest. So for me, I think if the Heat can hit the 3-point shot, all right, if they can hit their 3-point shot, it could be a wrap. It could be a wrap. As I think they won't win the inside battle, but they can get to the free throw line. The Heat are a top 10 free throw team in the league. They get to the line like crazy. And I know the 76ers are the best free throw team, but the Sixers do foul a bit more than the Heat. The Heat are a better fouling team, and they don't, they commit the 4th least amount of fouls, while their opponents commit more fouls than they do. So I think that the whole thing with Eric Spoelstra coaching the team is going to keep them level-headed, and if they cannot make mistakes, be able to hit their 3-point shots, and not let Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris dominate the inside, and Tyrese Maxey get to the paint, with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler probably playing the power forward positions, the power and center positions, I think the Heat can win this. That's it from the Heat side of things. I think that's possible. So to wrap this all up, so we gave you both sides. I want to wrap this up and hear your guys' opinion, and we'll do this right now. Like I said, guys, I think 3-point shooting is going to be indicative. Over the past 2 weeks, the Sixers have been attempting almost 39 threes a game, while the Heat were attempting about 36.9 threes in that same span. So right now, obviously we don't know what's the game plan going to be, but the Heat have technically shot less threes, even though there's been injuries. And this is where it gets so hard. It gets so hard because we don't know how healthy Joel Embiid is going to be. And I want to say that I would not be surprised if the Sixers, this is where I get so torn, because I think this is going to be a tough one. And they went back and forth. I'm going to go with the Miami Heat because the Heat want to do everything they can to avoid facing the Boston Celtics in the first round, because they rather go against the Knicks, because I think they know how to beat them better than they would be able to go against the Celtics, which they hope they rather face the Celtics when they're at the end. And the Sixers, I think they would rather go up against the Celtics because I think if they can knock out the Celtics in the first round, then it'd be easier for them to get to the finals. And B, if they don't win in the first round, they can blame it on Joel Embiid's knee injury, and they can also blame it, on playing the Celtics in the first round as a result of Joel Embiid's knee injury. And plus, then they have a K-Cup game against the winner of the Hawks and Chicago Bulls. So that's my prediction. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below if you guys agree with it or not. But yeah, peace out. I think that's going to be it from me. I don't have anything else to say. I thought that was my thoughts. If you made it to the end, comment. I like making these.